Welcome to Climbing the Pocket's Mock Draft Mondays. Who will the Vikings pick, and who's your favorite choice? Hey, everybody.
Welcome. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to step on you. I was going to say, everybody, welcome to Mock Draft Monday. Sorry we're a little bit late tonight. We had to do some rescheduling. I just got back from New Mexico late last night. I was running a little bit late. But we have not forgotten that it is Mock Draft Mondays, and we're going to do our best. Tyler, it's all yours.
Well, Dave, I appreciate you trying to take the heat off of me, but it is actually my fault. I'm going to take the burden on this. I just got transferred stores last week. I am now working in Chanhassen instead of Andover. And I was unfortunately scheduled to close tonight, which is why, thankfully, you two were willing to stay up a little later and make this work. And guys, we're going to do some fun things tonight with the Minnesota Vikings. We are going to do another 4-round mock draft and try and get a little more of a sense of what's going to be out there for what the Minnesota Vikings are going to be looking at their 7 picks in the top 4 rounds. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing great. Just opened up a Mexican honey light. Something a little lighter than I usually drink, but it's pretty good. And a little late tonight, but we're going to have some fun and hopefully draft a good team for the Vikings here.
Absolutely. And I just got to say, Viking Jerome, my man, can always count on you to be joining us here, and we appreciate you very much. Dave, let's get the simulator rocking and rolling. I want to get the Vikings some talent, and I want to be able to argue with Jason about it tomorrow.
I can't wait to see that.
It'll be one-sided, just as it always is. All right.
Let's get ready to start.
Let's rock and roll.
Hey, go figure. Trevor Lawrence off number 1. Nobody would have guessed that. Hey, and we got our first trade offers.
So this one is interesting because it's 2 fourths and a 7th to move up to 14, and we move back to 25. I don't think it's necessarily unfair, but considering what the Vikings need and kind of how they really need a second-round pick, I don't think that is a really good idea. Drew, what's up, my man? Glad to have you joining us tonight. I can't wait to pick Quiddy Pay just to make you happy. So
there's Washington's.
Washington's is even worse than Jacksonville's. And let's take a look at Kansas City. All right. So this one's interesting. You get 31 and 60.
A lot of capital.
A lot of capital, but this is a really far drop. And then 136 and 180. So we'd be making 2 extra picks tonight. I think for the sake of this exercise, I think we need to take it. I think we need to drop back, kind of see how the board settles. We're going to be able to recoup that second-round pick. They are later, but at the same time, these mock drafts are, 1, supposed to be fun. 2, they're supposed to give everybody a real sense of kind of what the Vikings could be looking at. So considering we are team trade back and the Vikings are probably going to be looking to trade back, I think we should do this.
Yeah, I like the idea as well. Just roughly looking and remembering who was taken here, I think there's only a couple players that you would maybe consider with Darisaw, Pay. I think Devonta Smith actually lasted out to us. So, there's some talent on the board, but just for the sake of doing the draft here, I think splitting it out or getting a second rounder and another 4th for us to work with tonight, I think that'd be more fun. So,
okay,
fantastic.
And we get another one. Oh,
all right. Well, let's take a look at what this is. So we would basically just move back up to 15. We'd give up 31 and 63, which we just acquired. But we would keep the 4th and the 5th. Because of why we took this trade, I think we should reject this offer and we should keep 31 and 63. Jerome, agreed. I'll say this. Quiddy Pay may look a little light, but he's 6'4", 272. And when you're playing the edge, he is going to be a true 5 technique. Think of the same mold Everson Griffin was. He doesn't look the part necessarily. but he has the beef to be able to play consistently. All right, 24 for 31 and 125. So essentially what we would end up getting, we would get a first at 24, we get the second at 63, and we would get a fifth-round pick to move back. I think we should take this offer and move back up.
I'm all for it. I mean, I kind of missed exactly who is still left on the board, but I think there's definitely some talent. And for a fourth rounder, that doesn't seem like it's overly too expensive.
Oh, Drew got lucky. Kwity Paye is off the board. All right. So here's what we got available.
Oh, gosh.
All right. Elijah Vera Tucker, who I am very anti-offensive guard in round 1 because guards don't matter. Rashad Bateman, who I just had a podcast drop with the Gophers guru himself, Daniel House, also owner of the Vikings Corner. We talked a lot about Rashad Bateman and how he can translate to the NFL and how he would be a great fit for the Minnesota Vikings. Christian Barmore has been a very popular name among Vikings Twitter, and he's a very flashy player, but at the same time, he's incredibly inconsistent. I worry about him as a first-round player. He's kind of like Gregory Rousseau, but a little bit more refined. He's all athleticism, and he does not have a ton of technique right now. Terrace Marshall Jr. is a blind spot for me. I have not watched him, but what I do know about Terrace Marshall Jr., he's a deep threat. He's going to have whatchamacallit. He's going to have I can't even remember what I'm saying here. He has camaraderie. That was the word I'm looking for. Camaraderie with Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson. Yeah.
Yes. My God, I need a beer. All right. Perfect. Azeez Ojulari. Now, Ojulari is an interesting case. He's a fantastic edge rusher. But he's only 242 pounds. He's not the most physical player in the world, and I don't think the Vikings will target him at all because he doesn't fit really anything that we do as far as rush concepts. The Vikings and Mike Zimmer want 4-3 defensive ends. They want 5 techniques, guys who are going to play incredibly well in the running game and are going to be able to rush the passer, which is one reason why I think they may buck the trend with Kwity Paye, because he's a fantastic run defender and he is a true 5 technique, offering similar athleticism to what Everson Griffin brought to the table, except Paye's is higher. Paye is a 99th percentile athlete. A 6'3", 6'3" cone would be the second best 3-cone ever recorded at the Combine if he was able to duplicate what he did in Michigan. And Gregory Rousseau, who's incredibly controversial because he's the same as Barmore, as I alluded to earlier. He is all traits, 0 technique. And the majority of his wins are on the inside as a defensive end. That's kind of worrisome. Nick Bolton and Zaven Collins. If you move on from Anthony Barr, Zaven Collins makes sense. He is basically Anthony Barr 2.0. He's a little bit thicker. They play incredibly similar. Collins is a great blitzer. He's got that length that Zimmer would crave for that off-ball linebacker spot. Nick Bolton would essentially be a Eric Kendricks replacement, and you're really not moving on from Eric Kendricks. Jalen Mayfield is another really intriguing option who we really haven't talked about a lot. I'm getting to offensive tackles this week. I just finished Sewell and Tevin Jenkins, and I loved both of their games. Jalen Mayfield is an incredible athlete, and he is more of a projection of this first-round caliber group than the rest of them because he's a very high upside athlete, and I think he can play left or right tackle, and you could really play him inside a guard if you need to. Ryan, taking a look at the board, kind of went over a bunch of kind of how these prospects are generally laid out. What's standing out to you right now?
You got to give the people what they want, Tyler. We got Rashad Bateman. I know he's your wide receiver 2. He's wide receiver 2-3 for me. I know we just got done taking a first-round receiver in Justin Jefferson. However, Thielen's not getting any younger. We're not quite sure how Clint Kubiak is going to want to run this offense. I know he's going to keep a lot of the same principles his dad used, but he's going to throw some wrinkles in. I think an article came out this week where he explained that he's worked in about 4 different systems, including his father's, in his career. West Coast, he had mentioned, I think it was 4 total. So he's going to take some principles. Hopefully we see a little bit more three receiver sets, and we don't have a wide receiver 3 yet. I think Bateman offers the biggest upside, best value here from the importance of what the position plays, how important a receiver is. And then, of course, you got the hometown feel, too, with him going to Minnesota. I think you give the people what they want here, and you draft him, and you're set at receiver, hopefully, for the next few years as Thielen starts aging himself out.
No, I completely agree. And I kind of want to allude to what the Detroit Lions did in the mid-2000s. 3 straight drafts. They drafted number 1 receivers. Charles Rogers, Roy Williams, Calvin Johnson. Obviously, Charles Rogers, he had injuries early on and just never could get off the ground. Really frustrating for Lions fans because Andre Johnson went 1 pick later, and Andre Johnson's a fringe Hall of Fame talent. Roy Williams, they were able to ship off to Dallas for 2 first-round picks, which really stinks for the Lions. They couldn't capitalize on that. But then they got Calvin Johnson, who's about to enter the Hall of Fame. That draft strategy would work incredibly well right now because of what you need to succeed in the National Football League. And let me tell you, having 3 wide receivers is a big deal. I think if the Vikings had great 12 personnel, if Kyle Pitts was available here, he and Irv Smith Jr. could essentially be your wide receiver 3. You could run 12 personnel all the time, and you can use them in incredibly fun ways. But I think, Ryan, you're right. I think we need to take Rashad Bateman here. Bateman, for me, is wide receiver 2 because he does everything so well. He's a crisp, smooth route runner. Yeah, he is more explosive than people give him credit for. It's just not off the blocks. The second he's in the open field, it's done. And there's a false step that he has at the beginning of each one of his releases. If the receivers coach can get him in and they fix that, I think he can be a fantastic player moving forward. Plus, as Tanishka says, Gophers fans finally won't bitch, and I like that. All right.
Yeah.
So this trade offer is a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
But
I'm accepting.
We're gonna accept
is there another pick below that, like a future or something?
Future 4.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So giving up a future 4th does change this. You're moving up 12 picks, but you're giving up a future 4th, and a 7th, which again, 7th isn't that big of a deal here. But future 4th, I mean, what are your thoughts, Tyler? I typically edge no in this type of scenario. I don't like giving future picks away, especially when we have so many picks in this draft to work with. However, and again, I wasn't super paying a close attention to the draft board to see who was falling. I think there is some good talent here that could be had that might not be available in 12 picks. So what are your thoughts?
I think that with the fact that we're going to have projected 4 fourth-round picks this year, we're going to have 2 fifths as well. I think Rick Spielman could do the same thing he did last year and really try to capitalize on teams wanting to trade up to get somebody on day 3 that's falling. Mm-hmm. And I think you can get that 4th rounder back. I think for the sake of this exercise, considering we got another 4th this year, I think we should take this deal. And let's see what's available at 51, because I think that second pick the second round pick we get is going to be around this spot. I want to address a couple questions or comments in our comments section real quick. I hear you, man. Elijah Vera Tucker did play left tackle last year. Here's the thing with him playing left tackle. I don't think he's a phenomenal athlete, and I don't think he moves incredibly well. His vertical sets are a little suspect. He struggles a lot with edge rushers. I think he could be a good tackle, but I think he could be a great guard. And I think because he has that guard experience and we've already seen what he can do, I think you need to play him at guard at the next level. But the fact he can bounce out to tackle is going to be so valuable for when just in case somebody goes down. And then Kadarius Toney, look, if you want to take Toney over Bateman, I get it. Toney is a fantastic player, and Toney can do a lot of different things for you. And he has got that quarterback option. Like, he entered Florida as a quarterback and then got transitioned to a gadget type player and then became a wide receiver, and then he burst out. So if you want to take him, I get it. But Bateman is a complete wide receiver. In this offense, I think it's what the Vikings would prefer, and I think it would be a better option. Now, let's get back to what's on the board in the second round. Trevon Merrick. Nick is already excited about Merrick on the board. Richie Grant is also there. Landon Dickerson, Joseph Osai, Kelvin Joseph, Davion Nixon. There's a lot of good options right here. Dave, can you scroll down a little bit?
I can.
Jabril Cox, who we took a couple weeks ago. I like Jabril Cox, and I think if you want to move on from Anthony Barr next year, Cox is a great guy to take here because you can groom him in that role, play him in the Ben Gideon spot, get him some special teams, and then slowly ease him in really fun sub packages where you do maybe like a 3-3-5 gimmick where you have Barr and Kendricks in the A gaps and just have fun messing with quarterbacks. Asante Samuel Jr., Dylan Moses, Nico Collins, Javon Holland, Joe Tryon, who I am a big fan. I'm a big fan of Joe Tryon. Dave, the people want to know what you think. What are your thoughts right now, kind of where the Vikings are sitting, how the board lies, that you've been here for every mock draft Monday except last week, and really not much changed last week. You've got a really good feel on a lot of these guys. Take us through your thought process. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm looking at Nixon right there is a 3 technique. And if we're going to make an impact on the defensive line, we need to do it early. And I think the bigger, because of what my buddy Drew says about Kwity Paye and some of the other ones, I think the defensive ends are being over, because of the number of them, I think they're being rated higher than they should actually drop in a normal draft. So that defaults me to 3 tech. And I'd like to see us get a good 3 tech, because I fear they're sitting there going, oh, well, we'll wait and take a 3 tech and we'll keep Shamar Stephen and move him over and it'll be miserable. My opinion is go Nixon. But you guys are the experts. I'm just the fan.
Yeah, Nixon's put on some good tape here. I think he's got a lot of burst. I think at the 3 tech, he's a good value here. 3 tech is pretty rich in this draft, I think. I mean, not in terms of like elite talent, but in terms of over the next, 50 picks or so, there's, a lot of talent out there like Aleem McNeil, and Jalen Twyman and Marvin Wilson. There's going to be a lot of talent out there. Same at safety. I know quite a few people here are saying Morig as the option. He's my safety number 1. I think he has an incredible amount of talent. I think I've seen him play. Every time he's played Oklahoma, I've watched him because I pretty much watch all of those games, and he always flashed. He's a great talent. However, again, you have Richie Grant. You have Javon Holland. I think is probably still available, and then Ardarius Washington. And there's just a lot of talent still left on the board. Osai is an interesting potential player here. He doesn't necessarily fit what we do, but I don't necessarily think that he couldn't fit into it, I guess. So from a traditional standpoint, I think he's probably more of an outside linebacker in a 3-4 from, what I'm seeing on him. However, if he put on a few more pounds, I don't know if his body can hold that. I don't know if it could be good, healthy weight for him to add on some more weight and be able to put his hand in the dirt. I know he's done it at some of that, but I think he's probably more in tune to be a outside linebacker in a 3-4 type system. So for me, that kind of takes him out. There's, again, some good edge talent coming up here. And a guy that intrigues me is, we have Kelvin Joseph here, but we also have Asante Samuel Jr., who I have higher than Joseph on my board. I think he's my cornerback 5 so far. Again, going back to what I say every week, you typically want your corners to have a little edge to them. You want them to be able to, kind of get in the face of that receiver and jam him up a little bit. I think Asante Samuel Jr. has that ability. He has the opportunity to play in multiple different systems and play inside and out. So he's a pretty versatile defender. And I really like that value here because I have like an early second round grade on him. So the fact that we'd be picking him at 51 is kind of right on par with what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts, Tyler?
I'm a little torn on Joseph and Samuel Jr. Samuel Jr. is a little bit of a blind spot for me. I have not fully gotten to his tape, and I've heard a lot of mixed reviews just as far as kind of how he translates. I don't want to necessarily speak without having seen the film, and I do agree 100% with your take on Osai. I don't know if he's going to be able to bulk up and keep that kind of explosiveness. Plus, when I watched Tevin Jenkins owned him all day, just shut him down. And that was a little worrisome considering Jenkins isn't the best athlete and he's incredibly powerful. So if you're getting owned by a guy like Jenkins, that kind of scares me too, considering your game is being a speed rusher. Landon Dickerson is an interesting guy, but the man's had multiple major knee injuries. I'm not touching him till round 3, but that's just me personally. The injury's scaring me. Richie Grant, I think, is probably going to end up my safety 1 or more Merrick. And I don't think it's necessarily a slight on Merrick. I just think Richie Grant, from everything I've seen so far, he is an absolute elite center fielder. And that gives Harrison Smith the ability to really be a riverboat gambler like he likes to be. And with him starting to exit his prime, he's going to be able to use his intelligence and football IQ a lot more in order to be more successful. And that's going to be in the box and not over the top. Over the top was never his strong suit, but he was never bad at it. And I think with a guy like Richie Grant, you're going to be able to see him really thrive. Dave, let's pull up those interior defensive linemen real quick. I want to be able to kind of see who else is on the board over Nixon. I know Nixon's a really good talent, but I kind of want to see who else is there. Unfortunately, Onwuzurike is gone. I love Onwuzurike. And as most of you probably have seen my scouting report on Climbing the Pocket that dropped about a week and a half ago, he's probably going to end up my interior defensive lineman 1. I have him graded above Barmore by a point, and Nixon's going to be on the docket as soon as I get through this offensive tackle class, which, let me tell you, these offensive tackles are really good. So I would highly expect the Minnesota Vikings to take one. Tufele is an athletic beast. Tui Pelotu, his teammate at USC, is more of a technician. Not an incapable athlete, but he's not a great athlete. So I think he's going to be more like a 4th round kind of target because of the lack of athletic upside. Osa Oningzua, my guy Andrew Harbaugh raved about his tape and everything I saw at the Senior Bowl. He uses his length incredibly well. He's powerful, got great technique, and he's still a little bit raw. So I'm excited to really dive into him as well. And obviously, we've talked about Aleem McNeil and Jalen Twyman, how much I like both of those guys. Twyman just missed the 2nd round grade for me. And I think he's going to help more where the Vikings really need it, and that's rushing the passer because he's got that quick twitch and burst off the line of scrimmage. Ryan, we kind of talked about a lot. Where should we go? Dave's kind of thinking defensive tackle, taking Nixon. You're kind of on the board where you like Merrick as your safety 1. Talking about Kelvin Joseph a little bit. Personally, I'm
Asante Samuel. I like Asante Samuel. Joseph, I like his talent, but I think he's more of a schematic. He doesn't necessarily meet our scheme. I think he's more of a scheme-specific player, more so than like some other guys that are being pegged that way, like your boy out of Syracuse. I can never say his last name right.
Ifeatu Melifonwu. It's
Melifonwu.
Melifonwu.
That's right. Melifonwu. Yeah, like where he, I think, has more versatility. I think Kelvin Joseph's a little bit more of a cover 3 kind of guy. I think he'd fit more perfectly with with the likes of like the Seattle defenses or whatnot. So, but where Asante Samuel, I think he is scheme diverse. But I do like the idea for Dave. We do need to bulk up these trenches. I think we do need to invest into that 3 tech or edge. Which again, we don't have a standout edge in this spot. If Ronnie Perkins or if yeah, really, I think he's the only one that would really be falling into this range. I think
Brian
as that I
Perkins,
have.
of course.
No, well, I mean, again, we're talking, if we're talking second rounders, I don't think there's a ton of edge guys that really intrigue me in the second. I think it's more those third, fourth rounders and like Janarius Robinson and that kid out of another hard name to pronounce. I'm not going to even try, but that kid out of Notre Dame that have those, long, lanky, high upside guys.
Ade Ogundeji.
There you go. Yes. So, with those guys being on the board there, I'm not, unless it's like a talent that I, supremely believe in, like a Ronnie Perkins or obviously a Kwity Paye is going to go in the first. Even a Greg Rousseau here, if he fell into this range, just as maybe a spot where you would take that chance. So I like the Nixon. I like Tufele. I think I like Tufele's actual upside a little more than Nixon's. So that's probably the route I would go just to keep Dave happy. So he keeps clicking these picks for us. Let's get him an interior defensive lineman.
All right, we've already taken Tufele. Let's take Nixon. Here.
Yeah.
Let's take Nixon. I'm really excited to get to his tape. One of the guys I work with over at Blue Chip Scouting, Dante Collinelli, loves some Davion Nixon. So I'm going to have a conversation with him here later. All right, so 78 and 119 to go up to 58. I don't think that's worth it considering what we've already given up to kind of do those trade ups. I think we should hold pat.
I agree.
Decline it, Dave.
Okay. Declined.
And I'd say decline that as well. Let's just get to 78. Let's kind of see what's going on, and let's take a guy.
I knew that was going to happen. No.
Jeez Louise.
Boy, they're insistent.
Nope.
Oh,
That's not awful, but
I mean, I would accept this in like real life, but let's just keep this rolling.
No, I would accept it too. Let's accept it. See what happens.
Fuck it, accept it. All right. Let's go back to the full board, Dave, and let's kind of see what we're looking at. I highly expect Richie Grant to not be available. Oh my God, he is. Richie Grant is available. Listen, I'm going to pound the table here for Richie Grant. I want that true center fielder.
I mean, if I have a 1A and if I have Morig, and how do you say Morig? Merrig. Okay. So if I have Merrig at safety 1, I mean, Richie Grant really is 1B for me. I mean, there's not a huge difference between them. I think they both fit the skill set that we need, which is center fielder. I think Richie Grant does have more range. I think he can play that true center fielder a little better. I think Merrig is actually more of like a Harrison Smith-like player, where he's going to be versatile. He can do a little bit of everything, but he's not going to be overly great at one. The only reason I would say Merrig over Grant in this scenario is he's likely, and I don't know because we don't have an official date of birth here, 2 years younger because he's a true junior, I believe. And Grant is a redshirt senior, so fifth-year senior. So that's where you get a couple more years out of a guy who you probably have rated about the same. They both provide that talent that we need and that skill set. So I'll let you pick here, Tyler. But if it was me, I'd be going Merritt here.
I personally could give two shits less if a guy's 23 in the second round. I really don't care. But you're pounding the table for Merritt. We got Tanishka, who's going to be mad at me in the chat if we don't take Merritt. Well, let's take Merritt. Honestly, I think it's fair. Calling this a toss-up. Merritt's a really good football player. I think our Darius Washington. I think Darius Washington, when I'm done with safeties, may end up grading higher than Merrick. And I know there's a lot of love with the people I talk to with our Darius Washington. But he's built like Bob Sanders, and that's going to scare a lot of people. And I think that's probably scaring the Vikings too.
But I do
and I do love Washington. I think Washington flashed more in games against the Sooners that I watched than Merrick did. But again, it's just the consistency, right? And Washington did bust some coverages, did miss some plays. Oh boy! Oh, there. I don't know if he stayed.
Okay, so we get a 4th round pick to let the Browns come up 1 spot,
and we move back.
And then we lose 2 spots. What's the other offer, Dave? 100, 126, 250. That's the Rick Spielman special.
Yeah.
Oh, we give up 134 as well.
I say we stand pat.
Yeah, that's fine with me. The Browns offer is not too bad, but it's I'm good. Okay.
And the reason why I wanted to stand pat here is we did just lose one of our premium, or not premium, but we did just lose one of our tight ends. We have so obviously we have Irv Smith, and we got Chaboy at tight end too. So I don't know if it's necessarily a need. Again, I dove a little bit deeper than the last time when you and I spoke, Tyler, about Brevin Jordan. And I'm really liking what I see. I know you have some concerns at the catch point. I didn't see those same concerns on a consistent basis. I did see them pop up from time to time. I love the fact that he's that prototypical tight end size. He's got speed. He's got separation ability. He needs to refine a little bit of his route running to get himself open a little bit more, so those contested situations aren't as often. But he blocks. He puts a lot of effort into blocking, and I think that is an important piece when it comes to our tight end 2, or even, who knows, maybe he even works his way into a tight end 1 position here. I really like him. I don't think I would take him before this pick. So to your point last time, I think you said if he was sitting there at 90 or even in the 4th, maybe that's something you consider. I'm not seeing him typically fall in this far whenever I'm doing my mock drafts that I do on my own. And so again, 78, maybe not, but 90, I think that's great value here. You have Peyton Turner, who has dealt with some injuries, but he is a dog. I love him at edge. He's a big boy too. He actually does kind of remind me a bit of that Everson Griffin style of play. Maybe not as elusive or quick but again, who knows? He can learn that. Everson didn't come in with that great spin move, right? He learned that and he developed that and he worked on his technique. Is it Roche or Roche?
It's Roche. And here's the thing before you get started with Roche. He's not going to be somebody the Vikings target because I believe he weighs like 238. He is a Dwight Freeney-esque kind of edge rusher. Sorry, 243. He gained 5 pounds. Light. Yeah, he's still light. He's a Dwight Freeney type speed rusher, and he's a really good player. I just don't think that there's going to be a spot for him as a future starter on the Minnesota Vikings, which is why I've kind of stayed away from him, even talking about him in these mocks.
Right, and that's kind of what I was going to say is that I just don't think he really fits what we're looking for in that position. Similar to that Texas kid that we talked about in the second round. I'm drawing a blank.
Joseph Osai.
Osai, that's right. So here's Spencer Brown. Again, is a UNI product. I haven't really looked too much at his tape. I've just seen some YouTube stuff for him, just because I haven't got my hands on UNI's tape or anything. But again, from what I can see, he seems like a developmental guy. I think that he's got a lot of length. He's also got a lot of height. And so I think that, that would bode well. I think he's got the athleticism needed to be able to be effective in this offense. Again, he doesn't blow me out of the water. I kind of like Deontay Smith a little bit better than him, and have him graded higher in my rankings. And even Walker Little is kind of right there with Spencer Brown in terms of where I'm looking at. Again, there's your boy Ardarius Washington. Cameron McGrone is an athletic linebacker. If we're looking at a linebacker here, there's Twyman, but again, we took that interior lineman or that 3-tech earlier with Nixon. So, some good talent here. If you're looking at other tight ends, Hunter Long is, as we've mentioned previously, a Kyle Rudolph clone. Basically Kyle Rudolph when he was coming out of Notre Dame. I don't necessarily love it. I think that, with the higher upside in Brevin Jordan with the athleticism and more willingness to be a solid blocker, I have him rated higher, as Jordan's actually my tight end 2 here. So, and really tight end 1, because I don't really count Pitts as a tight end. I know he will be a tight end, but he's basically a slot receiver, and he can even go onto the outside too. So I really have Brevin Jordan as tight end 1, and Tommy Tremble, again, another great tight end, more of a move tight end, similar to Kyle Pitts, not nearly as talented, but just in not really going to be that inline blocker, doesn't really show that willingness to do that. And he wasn't really asked to do that a lot at Notre Dame either. So yeah, I mean, that's some analysis here that I have on some of these players. What are your thoughts, Tyler?
See, I disagree on the Tremble bit, because I thought he was an incredibly willing and physical blocker, and I think he's got nimble feet. And from the little bit I've been able to kind of watch, I've been kind of focusing a lot on what the Vikings need as far as how I'm prioritizing my watch list. So tight end has been not a priority at this point, but I think it will be a priority moving forward, considering Rudolph is officially gone. I think Tremble could be a really nice complement to Irv Smith Jr., and I think the Vikings might prioritize that a little bit more. I can also just see the Vikings just take a blocking tight end, like a David Morgan type, and just make me real sad. Brevin Jordan,
a guy like Eubanks in the late rounds, a guy like Eubanks, someone like that. That's just more of a blocking guy that can split out a little bit, or block and then go off to the side and get open as a safety net.
Yeah, I think Eubanks does offer some pass catching upside. He just wasn't really asked to do it. And obviously, we know the quarterback situation at Michigan is abysmal. So Peyton Turner's kind of my guy. He's got inside-outside flexibility at that defensive end position. He did spend a lot of time at 3-tech, bulked up to from his freshman weight of 220, 230 to 290. Now he's back down to 270, and he played incredibly well at the Senior Bowl. The tape that I've been able to see, he's like double-teamed all the time. He's held a lot, and he's still making an impact. I think because of his length and athletic upside, along with the production and versatility, I think he's a fantastic fit in the 3rd round range, because he's going to give you a lot of things. And we kind of talked about it last week, Ryan. When you're taking linemen at this point in the draft, they're going to be backups right away. And being that they're backups, you want them to be versatile and be able to fill a lot of different roles so you can maximize your roster. So I am going to bang the drum here for Peyton Turner. We have so far, we've got Bateman, we've got Nixon, we've got Merrick, and now we got Peyton Turner. We have finally filled that wide receiver 3 hole, and we've gotten 3 more guys. I know Tanishka is asking for Miners. I actually think Miners is off the board at this point. I'm not 100% sure. I know I am really excited.
I don't even think he's actually in the Draft Network's database yet.
Have they not added him yet?
I could be wrong, but I've done a lot of these mocks because I lead a very boring life at times, and I don't think I've seen him really listed on here.
Mm-hmm. Well,
nope.
I stand corrected. He might not actually be on there. Right.
So we can pretend that we take him, but I think we should roll with Peyton Turner and beef up that D line.
Done.
Boom.
I know that makes Dave happy. But you're right, Tanishka. We do need OL, If some talent does fall here to us, that would be great to see. With our next pick, hopefully a offensive tackle or interior lineman here, that could help beef up that position would be great.
There's a couple of safeties we've talked about.
There's her boy.
Oh, is that Kylan Hill?
Yes.
My heart.
Running back.
All right. So we take a look here. Paris Ford is still available. Safety is really not a need at this point, but at the same time, if you love the player, who gives a shit? Mm-hmm. Kylan Hill. I could gush about Kylan Hill all day. I've already done that on plenty of these streams. I will forego that right now. Trey Sermon is a good football player as well. I think the injuries need to concern you a little bit, and the fact that his production is really the last 3 games of Ohio State season. He didn't really produce a lot. He flashed, but he didn't produce at Oklahoma. His lack of touches could be really enticing for teams because it's a running back position, and he's built to be able to handle punishment, which is always a good thing. Deontay Smith, I don't think I could say enough good words about Deontay Smith. I love Deontay Smith. Tariq Thompson,
that's my pick here. If we're going with it, that's gonna be who I say. I know we've taken him in multiple drafts.
This is a brand player. Dave, smash it. Deontay Smith.
Got him. We got us a tackle. Now,
yes,
even up those lines.
Can play guard.
Yeah, he can slide into guard. I think he's gonna offer a very similar athletic profile to Ezra Cleveland, except I think has better technique and is more powerful initially than Ezra Cleveland was coming out last year. And we did see Ezra Cleveland flash positivity at the guard position. So I think Deontay Smith can offer some similar things. And that versatility piece, Dave, we talked about it earlier. When you're taking guys in round 3 and 4, you need them to be versatile because they're going to play relatively solid roles for you right away. All right. So we're up at pick 134. We also have 136. And I think we might have one more 4th in the back end. I'm not 100% sure. But cornerback is a position that we can target right now. And one guy I want to focus on is, actually, I'll let Ryan kind of take the floor because it's Trey Brown out of Oklahoma. He really flashed at the Senior Bowl. He's incredibly fast. He's got great makeup speed, but he's a little smaller. Ryan, tell us about Trey Brown.
So again, going back to what you were just talking about in terms of the versatility that a player can bring and how that is more important at this type of pick, right? So Trey Brown, he typically lined up on the left side of the Oklahoma defense, and from time to time would follow their top receivers. So like Tylan Wallace, for example, he followed him around quite a bit in college. But again, he mainly stuck to the left side for the most part. And he did play into some slot. So he's got that versatility. He's also an excellent punt returner. He actually sealed the game against Oklahoma State. Or was that Texas? I think it was Texas this year. By setting the offense up with a huge return, actually 2 of them in that game, huge returns to set the offense up for the game-winning drive. So he's got that punt return ability. The thing with him is he does have some lapses. He does have some technique issues he needs to work on. You're right. Speed is incredible. He's got incredible makeup speed. So if he does get beat, he's usually catching up. So it's not a touchdown. It's usually just a big play or like a first down, whatever. But he's got that makeup speed, which is nice. But he just seems to make the big play. So sure, he'll let up a play, but then he comes up with the game sealing interception, or he comes up with, in the big PBU, in a big time moment. So I'm a big Trey Brown fan here, especially with what's left on the board here. I'm not a huge Williams guy. I've seen a lot of him again over the years. I haven't gotten to Griffin yet, so I can't speak on him. I'm not going to even attempt to. And same with Thomas. I haven't gotten through enough tape to really formulate a good opinion. But what I can say is that Brown does give you that punt return ability, kick return ability, that versatility that you can have, and then probably would make an excellent gunner as well, as he serves as our cornerback 3 or 4 as we develop his technique.
You sold me. Trey Brown, pick 134 for the Minnesota Vikings. Now we've got pick 136, and a guy I want to talk about here is somebody I wasn't super high on, but considering where we're at in the draft, I want to talk about Rashad Weaver, the edge out of Pittsburgh. Does not offer a ton of upside, but what he does offer is really solid play with a high football IQ, but he's not twitchy. And the Vikings do prioritize those high upside athletes, and I think you kind of got one in Peyton Turner. Obviously, not the kind of twitchy upside that a guy like Kwity Paye or Gregory Rousseau is going to offer. But Rashad Weaver, really solid player. He's going to be stout in the run game. He's that kind of defensive end that's going to get like 6 sacks a year for a decade. And he's just going to be a good football player. Nothing special, though. And I think he's one of those guys where you can take in round 4 and you can really feel like, hey, I got a really good depth piece, guy who can be a spot starter. And Rashad Weaver, for me, would be the pick here. I like his game. And I think with everything around him, I think he can be a successful football player in the National Football League.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten through enough of him either, because when I was watching Pittsburgh tape, it was mainly focused on Twyman and Paris Ford. So I need to go back through and watch Weaver. But yeah, I mean, I read your piece on him, and I thought that it provided some good insights here that I would have no issues with that. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, Christian Corley did mention here to check the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I was about to say, granted, we have presently 9 edge rushers on the roster. We have selected one already, giving us 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea here of looking at the quarterbacks.
All right. Is there anybody above Brady White at this point?
There is.
All right. So Davis Mills and Jamie Newman. Now, if you want a guy who's mobile, Davis Mills is not your guy. He is less mobile than Kirk Cousins, but he was the number 1 pocket passer coming out of high school, according to 24/7, in the, I can't remember if it was the 2017 or 2018 class. The guy throws a really good football. As far as his mobility is concerned, he's going to give you a lot of Dan Marino vibes. Very relative to a statue in the pocket, but he can climb it, and he can maneuver well enough within the pocket to make things happen. He throws with anticipation. He's got a cannon, and he makes these tight window throws that just wow you. And I like Mills as a developmental guy. I don't know if he's going to offer the type of mobility. He doesn't offer the type of mobility that you kind of crave right now. Jamie Newman, I don't like at all. I don't want anything to do with Jamie Newman. Jamie Newman played in a really wonky offense at Wake Forest. He made some wild throws, but he also made a lot of boneheaded decisions. And then he opted out when he didn't win the job at Georgia. And then at the Senior Bowl, he just kind of showed what he did on tape. And I think he's just incredibly inconsistent. And I don't think, with where the Vikings are at and with Davis Mills still on the board, I don't think Jamie Newman is worth betting on here. I would much rather take Davis Mills if we're going to take a quarterback than Jamie Newman. Ryan, what do you see?
Yeah, I was hoping Kellen Mond would be available still. Probably not realistic that he will be. I think he's probably going to end up being a 3rd-round guy, maybe even creep into the 2nd round by when it's all said and done. Yeah, Davis Mills, I agree. I think that he probably would be the pick here. I don't know if it'd be the pick that I'd be super excited about in terms of a quarterback pick because of the lack of mobility. I think he, they even tried to run some RPO stuff with him, and it just didn't work at Stanford. But again, like you said, he's got incredible arm talent, very accurate when he's in the pocket. Again, I wouldn't be mad if that was the pick here because of the fact that I think it's important to invest in a quarterback in the mid rounds every year. And this quarterback class outside of the top 6 guys is pretty poor. It's pretty poor in my opinion. So after and Mills kind of he makes that like 7th, because I think he'd be QB 7. He's not sexy. He's not going to be the guy that I'm clamoring for. But I think in this spot, it wouldn't be a bad pick. And to be different, because I think most of us guys that climb in the pocket believe that we should be taking mid-round quarterbacks even if we do have a Kirk Cousins every year or every other year just for the sake of doing it and hoping you hit on a Dak Prescott, on a Russell Wilson, on a Tom Brady. Obviously, I don't think anyone will ever be that good again, or at least not for a while. But, so I wouldn't be mad with the Mills pick here.
Yeah. I think we can probably wait on Mills to 143. So I think we should try and do that. And I think we should go with Rashad Weaver. Give us another interior player. We probably need to come out of here with 4 interior and exterior defensive linemen. We need depth. We need talent. And I still don't know if Wanham's going to be any good.
Yeah.
And I think that's tough because he flashed and he did look good at times, but
I suspect we're going to see more rotation, not only amongst the defensive linemen, but also with the edges moving in on certain plays to get more pressure up the middle, depending. I expect to see that from Andre Patterson to make up for deficiencies and to keep these guys fresh. So I could deal with another edge.
Rashad Weaver, book it.
Boom.
Let's wait till 143. I think we'll be able to get Davis Mills here. Let's take a look at those QBs.
There he is.
Davis Mills, book it. Let's take him. One guy who we should also be looking at in the late round quarterback discussion, Shane Buechele. He's not really getting talked about at all. And he's got a really good arm. His decision-making could use some improvement, but he can make those wow-type throws, and he's got a gunslinger mentality. And there is not a throw he doesn't think he can make, and I think you can refine that a little bit, and I think he can be a successful quarterback in the NFL. And I think if they would have picked him over Ellinger, Texas would already be back. That's how highly I think of Shane Buechele. So, the Vikings.
There you go.
Got their receiver 3, Rashad Bateman. 3 technique, Davion Nixon. Safety, Trevon Merrick. Edge, Peyton Turner. Offensive lineman, Deontay Smith. Cornerback, Trey Brown. Edge, Rashad Weaver. Quarterback, Davis Mills. We did a lot of good here. We got players that need and also at value. We did give up a 4th next year, but considering how we maneuvered throughout the board, I think we did a really good job of getting talent and maximizing the impact for the Minnesota Vikings in 2021 and moving forward.
Absolutely. I love this draft. I mean, I think there's a lot of talent in a lot of positions we need help in. And like I said, getting your wide receiver 2, your safety 2, one of your draft crushes in Deontay Smith, one of my draft crushes in Trey Brown. Again, biased, very biased, but there's a lot of talent here to be excited about. And again, Nixon, great talent. Turner, good talent. Weaver, again, solid. Not going to be spectacular. Not going to be he's not going to turn into a Danielle Hunter, but he's going to be a solid player that can provide that good value for you at that position. So, and then again, we got that mid-round quarterback that who knows what he'll end up turning into. He could be the next thing here in the NFL, or he could be a backup for the rest of his career. But hey, you still need a backup quarterback, and he's an affordable 4th-round backup quarterback, so that you're not paying multi-million-dollars to. So,
Dave, how you feeling?
Have a chance to win. I like this draft. This is a good, solid draft. People of Minnesota will be happy because of Bateman pick. I'm happy with some of the big round bellies. I think it's good. Nicely spread out. And we've got talent at key positions that we need, and we got them in good spots, so I'm happy.
I think one of the things that Vikings fans need to do to temper their expectations is that the draft is likely to not look sexy. It's probably going to be a boring-esque draft with a lot of work in the trenches, and that's okay. Sometimes you need a draft that's not the sexiest, but if it's effective, that's really all that matters. Get players who are good, will do a great job, and get them for value. And I think we did a great job doing those things today. We've got 8 really good players that we would be bringing into the Minnesota Vikings in the first 4 rounds. And I think you could expect all of them, except Davis Mills, to make a relatively solid impact year one, which, considering where Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer are, you're drafting maybe a little bit more for this year than you are moving forward. But I think we got a good blend of all of that.
I like the word blend. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, guys, I appreciate you waiting around for me. Everybody, I appreciate you tuning in to this week's Mock Draft Monday. And we are going to continue to have more leading up to the draft, where we have some plans laid out to do something for the draft, which those will be coming out shortly. And I, for one, am really excited to start talking about that.
Well, guaranteed for one, just like the previous 2 years, we will be live on day one and hope to be, like last year, wall to wall all 3 days. Should be fun. And it's a lot better than listening to ESPN or NFL Network. So, we won't have those silly commercials.
Absolutely. Dave, take us home.
Well, that's it for everybody. Thanks for joining us. Come tomorrow night at our normal time with our next Climb in the Pocket Network show. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, Skol Vikings! Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.